Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Jenkins. How are you guys? So today we're going to work on a really nice floral collage, which would make a lovely present for someone or something you can hang in your room that just makes you smile. So we're going to walk through these steps, but let's go ahead and first talk about materials, okay? So you're going to need a variety of colored construction paper, and I don't have full sheets here. I have like even a little bit less than half sheets, but I have a lot of different colors. And you're going to need, separate from that little stack, you're going to need some darker green construction paper or regular green. You're going to need a piece of black paper, which will be for your background that everything goes on. You'll also need a piece of white paper for your vase, okay? And then you'll need a glue stick, you'll need some scissors, you'll need a black Sharpie, either thin or a little bit thicker is fine. And I believe maybe a ruler if you're gonna do some designs that include straight lines. All right, let's get started. Now, a couple of the concepts that I want you to think about while you're working on this is as far as elements and principles of art, we're really focusing here on variety, on color, and on shape, and creating a simulated texture. Okay, so giving our plants a little bit of design to kind of create a simulated texture. All right, okay, so here we go. And remember, keep in mind that whatever you have at home is what you use. If you have to choose something different to work with, then you just do that. If you don't have all the colors, you can color your own paper. You can watercolor white paper into different colors and then use that as your colors. If you don't want to make a white vase, you can make it a different color and then do patterns on it. It's really up to you, boys and girls. Oh, the other thing you'll need is either a green crayon or a green oil pastel or a green colored pencil for the stems that are in our floral project. All right, so here we go. So to begin, you're going to want to grab your white paper, and you're going to want to draw about halfway, okay? So only about halfway up the paper. You can see that I'm just using a scrap of paper that I already had for my previous vase, but if you can see, like you can even just fold your paper in half. And if you fold it in half, then you can just use one half folded horizontally like this, so that it's like the hamburger fold. You can use this one half to create your vase so that it doesn't get any bigger than half. Now, you can create a vase however you want, okay? If you want to make it more rounded, more sort of bulbous shaped, there's lots of different ways you can draw a vase. So I'm going to show you one more example, and then I'll come back to that one. So you could draw a vase like this. That's another option. Okay. So it's really up to you the shape of the vase that you want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this one. Now, notice I didn't take my lines all the way down or all the way up because I want to create some three-dimensionality to my vase. So I'm going to create a curved sort of smiley face mouth for the top, and I'm going to create a parallel curve at the bottom. This rounded curve is what makes it look less flat, all right? So as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to cut it out. So do your best to cut on the lines as much as possible. And if you mess up, there's no big deal. You can always adjust the shape according to kind of what you've already cut, okay? As long as it has a pretty, decent sized opening at the top so that it makes sense for a really full bouquet, then you're in great shape. So here we go. I'm going to cut that out there too. All right, then you're going to use a glue stick, and I'm going to use something else to do my glue stick on so that I don't get glue stick all over everything. So you want to make sure, I always like to hold my item from the middle and then make sure I'm getting all my edges really well before I decide to put it down. And when you put it down on your black paper, you want to make sure that it is not touching all the way to the bottom, but that it's a little bit higher. Again, that's going to make it look like It's got some three-dimensionality to it, and a really good way to ensure that your vase is glued is to flip your paper over and to rub it like this to really get it to stick nicely, okay? All right, once that is done, you can go ahead and grab your colored construction paper, okay? Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces, 8 different colors. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw multiple, I'm gonna go ahead and do like 4 sheets together. And if you have white, don't use white. I'm gonna do 4 sheets together and 4 sheets together, okay? And the reason I'm gonna stack 4 and 4 together is because I'm gonna be able to cut through all 4 at the same time, as opposed to having to cut individually a bunch of different times. And what I'm gonna do is, you wanna have anywhere between like 10 and 15 flowers. That's really a good amount if they're, you know, if they're about that size. You know, I wouldn't go any smaller than the roundness that you see with my 2 fingers there. So I'm gonna walk you through drawing several different flowers. And what's gonna happen is, when I draw like 3 or 4 on here, or 3 or 4 on the other section, it's gonna end up having several of that same flower. So there is gonna be some repetition, but there's gonna be at least 4 variety, if not more. Okay, so to begin, if you come down here somewhere, you can draw the middle of a flower. And we're gonna draw something that looks a little bit like a sunflower. And I'm doing this with my Sharpie, but you don't really need to do that. You can use pencil. That way if something is, you know, if you need to adjust something, that's easy to adjust. So I've got this sunflower, and I'm gonna go ahead and add some more petals. And if you see, I'm kind of going rounded and then up to a point and then back down. So it's kind of like a curve, like kind of going down a hill. Okay, so that's my sunflower. Then I'm gonna do a daisy style, and that's gonna be just long, thin petals. Now pay attention to how I do this. Once I start getting over here, it starts to get uncomfortable to keep my flowers symmetrical. So I will start spinning my paper around so I can keep the same motion as I'm drawing. And this is pretty much a rule you should always use when you're doing something that requires you to go to work in the round. This will help you maintain symmetry and organization sort of as you're drawing, okay? So there's a daisy, and then I'm gonna do, let's do a tulip, okay? So a tulip is gonna be kind of like a U shape, and then you can add your little sort of points at the top. So that's 3 there. And remember, I'm drawing 4 papers on top of each other, okay? And remember, these are about half sheets of construction paper that are stacked on top of each other. And I've got my other colors here, and I'm gonna do some different ones. So I'm gonna go and do a circle in the middle, and do another circle, and another circle. And then on the outside of this, I'm gonna do this sort of wavy petal thing. And you guys, I'm just walking you through this, but of course, if you have your own interesting flowers you'd like to draw, please do so, okay? Please do so. Like, you have the ability to do marvelous things with your own mind. Okay, for this one, I'm gonna do some kind of, you know, I don't know what kind of flower this is, but it's daisy-like. And then I'm gonna add more layers to it by overlapping every 2 pieces with one little section. So there's one, and then I think I'm gonna stop there, you guys, because I think I have like 5 variety here. So then what you're going to do is you're going to cut them. And if the paper is thin enough, it's pretty easy to cut through all 4 pieces, okay? So this would be a great place for you to pause the video so that you have time to cut your pieces out. So you'll just start, I always tend to cut my pieces so that one flower is basically in one stack, and then you want to go ahead and start cutting. So you cut around, and again, I move the paper to cut well. I don't move my wrist all uncomfortably. I move my paper around to help manage how I'm cutting. Now I'm using good, strong scissors, like grown-up scissors. So if your scissors aren't very sharp, this might be a little bit harder to cut, you know, 4 sheets together. So I would do your best. And just if you need to do 2 or 3 sheets together, then that's what you do, okay? So you're gonna pause the video, you're gonna finish cutting all your pieces, and upon your return, you're going to have all these flower shapes to work with, okay? So, and as you can see, the only ones that have marker on them are the ones that were on that top layer, right? So that makes absolute sense. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start to arrange our flowers all over our picture, okay? So I'm gonna move these off. I just wanted you to see them. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start arranging them in various places. And if you look at my example, you can see that they're not just at the top, they're not just on the right or the left, but they're everywhere, because a nice full bouquet is going to be very full. It's going to be covering a lot of the stems that would be showing. It's going to be, some of them are going to be shorter flowers, so they'll be hanging off the edge a little bit, and that's really what you want to go for, okay? So I'm going to glue stick and put it, and don't worry about the fact that they don't all have designs yet. That's not a big deal. I can promise you that's not a big deal. And pay attention, I'm definitely moving all over the place. I am not sticking to one area. I'm not trying to have this perfect balance where the left is exactly like the right. Keep it random, because when you get a real flower bouquet, it is not like this perfect little man-made thing, right? It's nature, right? So it's doing its own thing. So you want to mix up those colors. You can even do some overlapping. That's actually a good thing to do, overlapping, so that one flower is partially covering another flower. And you just keep going until you fill the space. Overlapping, variety of color. Let's put this little daisy over here. And another tulip over here. Again, overlapping, really trying to create this nice and full bouquet. And there's that. And here's one more down here. And we've got our nice and full bouquet. You've got space to do more if you want to. Like, I have some more that I could have cut, but I felt this was fine. But you could honestly go all the way to, you know, the right and left edge as much as you want to. Okay, so once you have this here, you'll want to take a green color pencil or a green marker, not marker, sorry, this is black construction paper, crayon, oil pastel, or color pencil. And for every flower, you'll want to add a stem, and then as you follow through flowers that are below it, you want to make sure that that stem goes all the way in. So here on the tulip, we don't really see the stem right under it, but you know that it would probably come out right here for this flower, for this flower, for this flower. So you have to kind of imagine that it's going behind things, but that it's eventually getting to the vase, okay? So here's another one, and another one, and this one is curving out of it. Okay, see how that worked? Then, my friends, once you are done, you can do a cool pattern in your actual vase to sort of make it decorative. Now, I did circles with hatch marks and cross hatching marks on this one. But for this one, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna do something that wraps all the way around the vase, but just keep in mind that if you're doing something that wraps around, just like our top and bottom are in a curve, you also want to curve the design that you're gonna have going from left to right. So for example, so you see how I kind of came down a little bit and then I came up. So again, you can do whatever you want for your own design. You can decide that cool, interesting pattern that you want to create. And what will I do here? So I think I will do that. Again, you can follow right along with me. Part of being a young artist is learning how to see something and mimic it. Okay, and then if you wanted to create designs within, you could do that. You could create some patterns inside your pieces. And I'm going to let you finish your own design in your vase. So you finish your design before you continue on with me. So if you need to press pause at this point, that's what you want to do. So then you go on to your flowers. And you can see that some of the flowers already have lines on them because that was where we drew on the top paper of the layer of paper. So you have to then go back in and fully create your petals as best as you can. And then I'm going to be creating patterns or extra details within my flowers. So I don't want it to just be a normal flower, but I want to add designs and lines and patterns to just make it that much more interesting. So that's what you're going to do with your black marker right on top of your flowers. Even the ones that already have lines on them, they're not complete yet. They're just the flower but without the patterns, okay? So you'll just keep creating your designs in your flowers. And a lot of times I'm just going to be repeating something, or I'm letting the actual shape of the flower or the shape of the specific petal even. Sometimes I'm just letting that determine what I do with my designs, okay? So again, you can be following right along with me or doing your own or a combination. You can find things all over your world that are filled with designs. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, but you're going to keep going and finish all your flowers. The last step we're going to do is add our leaves. So remember when I told you that you needed a different color of green paper? Like I did sort of light green for this flower, so I wanted to make sure I had a different shade of green for my leaves. And what I did is I took like a strip of paper, which is really like a third of a piece of construction paper, like less than half, and I just folded it so that it's it's folded one time and then a second time, so now it's like 3 layers of paper. And within those 3 layers of paper, I am going to go ahead and draw 3 leaves on that small piece. So here's one, here's a second, and here is a third. And then I'm going to add my details, which is the sort of the veins that are on the leaf. and that middle line. And my third leaf. And then again, when I cut these out, I will again make sure that I add those same details on the additional leaves that are still there. Okay, so there's 3 there. So again, I'm cutting 3 layers of paper on top of each other because it's fairly thin construction paper, so I don't really need to do one at a time. But if you want to, you can. This whole project is an excellent exercise in scissor skills and craftsmanship. Okay, so then you would end up gluing these on in various places. So not every flower is going to have leaves. You don't really have enough for that, okay? But you just kind of decide in which areas you put them that would kind of make sense dependent on a stem, okay? Remember how we have those stems in here? So then you just decide, okay, so there might be a leaf here and it might overlap right there a little bit. And you just kind of make decisions as you go, thinking about where leaves would come out and where they would show. Facing different directions. Sometimes you can tuck something under something. Sometimes it's overlapping something. It just depends. So let's do this one here. Okay, so here is our finished version again, and that is what you're going to do. The leaves are kind of random all over the place. In addition to this video, I'm going to also post on your assignment this sheet that has just a bunch of examples of flowers and leaf shapes, just so you have something you can use to help you go through all the pieces. And I'm excited to see what you guys do. So thank you for participating, and I look forward to seeing your work. Remember, this is going to be 1 week after it's presented to you. Bye guys, love you.